All right, Central Coast champions, here is our team meeting for the week. So, going over the 321 James Clear newsletter on balancing gratitude and ambition, the best things in life, and feeling like you have enough. There we go. And so, for the first idea from James Clear, idea number one, each day, spend some time on two things: working towards something that will pay off years from now and appreciating something that is happening right now. Second idea from James Clear, do not fear what you can address. What should worry you is not the problem, but if you are resisting addressing it. Idea number three from James Clear. Many of the best things in life are endless. Being in a great relationship, staying fit and healthy, doing work that fulfills you, being a good parent, coach, or teacher. Stop worrying about accomplishing these things and instead focus on building a life where you continually practice them. The important stuff has no finish line. Two quotes from famous other people. First one is American novelist Ursula K. Le Guin. Reminds us that love is an active, ongoing process. Love doesn't just sit there like a stone. It has to be made like bread, remade all the time, made new. And then number two, philosopher, author, and poet G.K. Chesterton reminds us that constraints help us create. Art is limitation. The essence of every picture is the frame. And then one question of reflection for you. If I want to feel that I have enough right now, what do I need to stop doing or let go? Give us a moment to reflect on that. All right. Anyone want to share?
Yeah, I knew my answer from like
From the
there
get-go.
you
I
go.
like it.
Yeah.
Let's see it, Sean Tracy.
Just being on the phone, scrolling on Instagram. Uh I don't do it as often anymore, but it still happens where you just sit there and then you lose track of time and 2 hours later you're like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get up and go to class. So I would say that would be like the biggest thing.
100%. I actually can relate to that pretty well just because mine was just that I stay up a little bit too late going to bed, right? And so I'd be getting on my phone, be watching some like poker tournaments or something like that. And I get to into YouTube or anything, that endless like freaking platform of YouTube where you just like click one video you watch and all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's another video. And I just keep on going, right? And then the next thing I know, I look at the clock and it's like 2, 3 in the morning, right? So I can say that, I definitely need to let go of being on my phone I'm going to sleep because I feel like that's like the free time kind of out of my day that I get. But like at the same time, it's my rest time, right? And it's for me to get myself refreshed and everything for the upcoming day, right? So, all right. Sienna, do you have anything to share?
I honestly, I think I'm always just like chasing the paycheck, like trying to find like job and cram everything in. So just like chilling and on that, like instead of like overworking myself, like trying to like beat my goal, which like I don't know, it's a balance because it's not a bad thing, but I definitely get too caught up in it a lot of the time.
Yeah,
And
no,
I just feel like I never have enough.
100%. Absolutely. All right. So, going into real quickly here, we have just a little update for this last week. Starting the new month right, we were in the number four first full year office in the nation. Super hyped up. Great work. Let's give our team a round of applause for that. Awesome stuff. Now, going in, we'll have the Alex Funk advanced sales, but it's not advanced sales. It's more of a phoning video. So, we're going to be going over just phoning tips and stuff like that. Some of you guys have seen this video before. However, I'm going through this for just the newer team members that haven't seen this video. This is just going through and developing a good phoning mindset, the kind of mindset you want to have when calling and making phone calls and everything like that. And so I'll play this video for you guys here, take some good notes, and we'll go through it. I love that. All right, let's do that.
Classic
Um,
YouTube.
has anyone here ever felt a little bit nervous when it comes to making phone calls? Anybody looking for interaction? This for sure. Pat, you've never felt nervous about phone calls? Oh, okay. That's everybody, right? Everyone. Who feels like they are willing to unmute and say, what is the biggest fear you have when it comes to phone calls? Like, what are you nervous about? Zoe, what are you nervous about when it comes to phone calls?
I'm nervous about talking to people and them judging me for what I'm doing, not necessarily getting denied, but being judged. I think there's a big difference between that. Um, and so that's like something you have to overcome. And I guess my little way of how I did that was doing an all-day phone jam. We were in the office, so I think if you guys are able to do or join in on all the phoning times tomorrow, that's very beneficial because by the end of it, you're kind of numb to phoning. So when you have to make phone calls like in a couple of days, it's just like, well, I just did it for 12 hours the other day. Let me sit down and do some for maybe an hour.
So Zoe, yeah, no, for real, that's how it is. Zoe, you said not the fear of rejection, but the fear of being judged. Anyone else feel that? Anyone else feel that? Yeah. What, and being judged of what? Anybody else want to unmute? Like being judged of what? Pat.
One that I always kind of struggle with was some of my, like the people that I knew were wealthy. Like either I got told they were wealthy or I know they're wealthy. Like I don't want them to think that I'm just calling them and trying to sell them something because they know that I know that they're wealthy. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. 100%. Yeah. No, anyone else feel that? Like you almost feel bad because they know why you're calling them, type of thing. Anyone feel like that? Okay. Any other things that you feel like you might be judged for when you're calling? Logan, did you just mouth something? You did? Who else? There's got to be other, or is that the only thing?
So one thing that I've been judged for a few times by family is they feel like I'm just being lazy about getting a job. They don't see this side of it. They don't see the calls on the other side. They don't know why I'm doing this. And so like I felt a lot of judgment, especially from my aunts and uncles who are a little more established. They told me like go sell groceries, go bag groceries or something like that. And I'm like, you don't even know why I'm doing this. But yeah, so some of the judgment I think is like the actual job itself. Kind of like what Zoe said, they were like, especially with like posting on social media, a lot of my friends that would swipe up, they're like, why are you doing this? Or like, they throw around the term pyramid scheme. That one I find is funny. So I talk them through what's actually going on. And everyone seems to be a little bit more understanding, but that initial judgment is always hard to front right away.
100%. Anyone else feel that? Anyone else feel any of that? 100%. So why I wanted to put this out in the open, we've all heard it, we've all felt it. And what's really, 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 really important to recognize, everybody, is when we are making these phone calls, booking these demos, the first thing to recognize is it is different than what Blake said a normal job is. Okay. This is not bagging groceries. I will never pretend like this job is bagging groceries. It is not. Thankfully, there are way more motor skills involved with this and opportunities to connect and grow. And there's not a lot of growth in a bagging grocery job. Would everyone agree with that? It's kind of a very, going through the motions type of thing. There is nothing wrong with that. Okay. But what I want everyone to recognize is the reason that there's any judgment cast, which isn't it wild that there's judgment cast on us doing something different and not on somebody who just goes and gets a job at Target because everyone else does. And it kind of like, shouldn't this be put on a higher pedestal? But the reason that there is judgment or it feels different is because it is human evolution to want to be accepted by the pack. If you think about this, it makes sense, right? Anybody who was different over millions and millions and millions of years of evolution, anybody who chose to be different probably didn't find a mate, and those genes did not reproduce over and over and over. So who evolved over time? The people who stuck with the pack, did what everyone else did, and were very normal. We don't have to just survive anymore. That's what's awesome. Being different is very okay, but it's still judged the same way. Does everyone recognize this? So we're not primal, like nobody is going to be cast off by the pack for being different, but there's still that feeling of being judged and shouldn't you be doing this because this is normal? And that's very okay. So I think the first thing to recognize is, hey, this is very different, but just because someone else doesn't understand doesn't mean that it's not the right thing. I think we'd all agree, like seeing Jared be so great at it and JFK and all the success stories and entrepreneurs that have come from Cutco is pretty awesome. The other thing is the judgment of like I think it was Patrick who said people calling with the feeling of, oh, you're just calling me because I have money and you want me to buy stuff from you. Somebody unmute. What are we really asking for? When we call somebody, what are we asking for?
Their time.
Yes, who said that? Jared or Gigi? You both unmuted. Jared, their time. So when we're calling, would anyone disagree? What we're asking for is their time. And I'd argue time is the most valuable human resource, not their money. Their time really is the most valuable resource. So what we're asking for is far more valuable than their money anyway. It's their time. Would anybody here disagree that HM30s burn a lot of time? Anyone disagree with that? I was home for Christmas and my aunts had my 3 aunts had a discussion in front of me that I almost was sitting there like, wow, if I could just record this and play it for any Cutco rep ever and be like, this is what HM30s are doing. They were talking about 3 different shows on Hulu that all 3 of them have watched in the last 2 months. They've watched like the whole series. That's season on season on season. So if they're not watching your demo, what are they watching? Who knows, right? So would you all agree, like HM30s, they have time. So if we're asking for their time that they have an abundance of, is it really a bad thing that we're doing? I would say no, right? And the other thing is, if you feel bad about asking for their time, you must be doing a pretty boring demo. Spice it up, have some fun. I remember when I was making phone calls, booking demos, I actually felt really excited about it because for me, it was like, I'd crack some jokes on the phone. Small town people, right? Beer is currency in my small town. Like, so I'd be like, hey, you bring the drinks, I'll bring, Logan, you can probably relate Montana. I'd be like, hey, you bring the drinks, I'll bring the jokes. Let's have a good time. We'll see you at 7 o'clock on Zoom. And people would eat it up. So tell some jokes, have some fun, right? If your presentation isn't the highlight of your week, add some more jokes in, right? Your presentation should be something that they think about all week, way more than their Netflix show. Okay? Would anyone disagree with this at all? So what we're asking for is their time, which they have an abundance of, and they have an abundance of this week more than any other week of the year. I sent an email to a Cutco corporate guy 2 days ago, or no, December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. And I asked for a favor. The response I got was, and it was about the Silver Cup. I felt like, Gerardo in first place, felt like there's some fishy stuff going on. Yeah, he's randomly had whatever. The auto response I got was, out of office until January 2nd. Happy holidays. I was like, January 2nd? This guy's off for 2 weeks? Are you kidding me? And then I thought about, you know what? My mom also off until after the new year. How many people know someone who's just off of work this week because it's the holidays? And what are they doing? It's cold outside. Like, they're not that busy. They're not that busy, Blake, right? So once you look at these demos as, hey, I'm really not asking for a lot. People aren't that busy. The presentation's fun. And if you need one more reason to call people, there are customers out there struggling with their kitchen cutlery situation, and they have no idea they have a better option. How do you know that they don't know there's a better option? Was anybody's mind blown to shreds in training? Like, oh, wow, there's 10 different knives that you can use. Oh my gosh, them wood handles are disgusting. Wow, that steel gets that rusty. There are customers out there who've never went through Cutco training. They know none of the stuff you know. So the worst case scenario with your presentation is they learn a ton. Even if they don't buy Cutco, you're the highlight of their week because you're funny. You have a big smile. You make their day. And they learn a ton about kitchen cutlery and their knife situation. That's a win-win-win, I would imagine, right? And if they don't see the value when you call them, guess what they say? They say no, and you move on to the next person anyway, right? So if you make it about that, instead of making it about people buying Cutco from you, phoning doesn't have to make you nervous. Phoning doesn't have to be a dreadful thing, right? If you can just understand the favor that you're actually doing for people. Does this make sense? Okay.
All right, there we go. So what are some of the kind of takeaways from that video? Anybody care to share?
The only thing that you're asking for is their time. You're not asking for money, you're not asking for anything else, just time, which they have a decent amount of.
An abundance of. There we go. I love that. Okay. What else? Anything else? Okay. Cool beans. So, real quick, let me go back to sharing my screen here with you guys here. All right. I can get a thumbs up. You guys can see my slides. Great. Awesome. Thank you. So, going over here, the weekly newsletter, going over the Cutco Chronicles. Front page of the newsletter this week is going over the President's Club letter. Have you earned President's Club yet? So it's going over basically what the President's Club letter is, what the sales totals are to be able to achieve that, all that kind of stuff. We do have the winners later on, basically in the newsletter. I will go over them for the people from our team that have won it, as well as the people that are closing in on it to earn the President's Club letter in our organization. So going over the top representatives this last week, something I'm super hyped up about. You can see in the square dab middle of here, we got top 5 AMs. And Miss Sienna Lopez from the Central Coast Champions is front page of that newsletter, which is freaking fired up, beating out Becca Regal, who's been a really top assistant manager in the North State office. So round of applause to Miss Sienna Lopez for being recognized as being a top assistant manager in the Western region. Very fired up.
That's some crazy stuff right there.
Some crazy stuff. We love to see it. Just got promoted 2 weeks ago, and she's already kicking butt. We love to see it. So going through, we got Matt Graves as the #1 represented this last week, selling 55,000 buckaroonies worth of Cutco. There we go. Now we do have, going through the top offices of the week, we have had the Central Coast Champions at the #2 spot, just behind Temecula's top dogs. Henri Bogart, super dope dude. Would love to see it. Then also, fun, awesome thing, our guest speaker from a couple weeks ago, Austin Overbillig, he just officially achieved Cutco Hall of Fame status. So he just passed by $10 million worth of sales this past week. And so he's officially in the Cutco Hall of Fame. So really fired up, and they'll probably have some sort of ceremony at the kickoff conference or something like that at the year's end. Now, we had the top pilot office being the Pasadena pilot office, selling $87,000 worth of Cutco. We were the #2 division in the Western region, being beat out by the South Coast division. Now going through the top personal sales, you can see Sienna Lopez being recognized here, 6,620 CPOs sold this last week. Super fired up. And then we have the pace setters here, Mega Strings, 5K pace setters. Diaz Cortino still having 96 straight weeks of 4K sold, 329 straight weeks of 3,000 sold. And then I love to always show Michael Lemaster 1,026 straight weeks of $1,000 sold. Super fired up. And then they gave some recognition for some of the fast starters across our Western region, including Angel Strong, who Sienna Lopez just wiped the floor with during the Halloween push. We love to see it. So I'm competitive, so we like to see that. Now, going through the promotions this last week, the promotions that happened this week will be recognized next week. So we did have a promotion that did happen this last week that will be recognized on next week's newsletter. Now, I also want to give recognition. Sienna Lopez had a couple of grand days, selling $3,687 worth of CPO in one day, as well as $2,853 to accumulate her big week. And then this is the fall campaign All-American Scholarship contenders. This is not including this last week's sales. This is basically a week behind. So currently right now we got Sienna Lopez at #27. After this week, she's for sure going to be shooting up, getting into the top 15 most likely. So super fired up with that. Now, the fall campaign fast start record holders, these are all the record holders for our division. Every single division so far for the fall campaign has got a new record holder. It's pretty crazy. There's a lot of 10K fast starters, a couple 20K fast starters. So there's a 20K in Washington from Austin's office, Lucas Barbu, as well as the Pacific Islands division in Honolulu, who sold 21,000 their first 10 days. And then we have the top team builder contenders. These are people that can qualify for a trip, simply just referring their friends to the job. And then this is the Fall Campaign President's Club winners. These are all the people that have been listed out in our Western region that have won the President's Club letter for the Fall Campaign. Josue Garduno and Sienna Lopez both have earned the President's Club letter for the Fall Campaign. I like to say that, during my schooling career, I like to just collect those things like Super Bowl rings. So honestly, I got 4 of those bad boys framed up in the office and everything, but they're amazing letter of recommendation, basically stating that you're a top performer within within our organization. It's going through, gives you a personal reference to our division manager, Kevin Donahue, on the letter. I just like to say it's pretty much a letter of gold. So, Sienna, whenever you do get that, would love for you to snap a picture of that and put that into the WhatsApp and everything like that, just to showcase what it looks like and everything. And then we have the top contenders for people that are going after for going after the President's Club letter. And so I don't think we have anybody really super, super close that I can see from Central Coast. But that just means it's a room of opportunity for the people on this call that are not listed out on this list. Get on that list, right? That's the biggest thing. Now, going through the Western Region Phone Jam leaders for this last week. And these are the times for the Western Region Phone Jam, same times as usual, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Then people on the board this last week, we had Michael Willman and Sienna Lopez. And then people that got recognized on the newsletter, we of course had Sienna Lopez, $6,619.50. Give a round of applause again. There we go. Awesome job. Now, also want to recognize her getting her freaking field sales leader 20K promotion. Bonus land, baby. I want to recognize that. Really fired up for Sienna because overall, looking back at it, she's been with us for just a little bit over a month, right? And she's been able to get 5 promotions in her first month, right? So that's pretty exciting stuff, and really just excited to see all the potential stuff that's going to happen for you, Sienna. So super fired up for you. And then going through, these are the top 5 standings for the Central Coast Champions. We have Michael Willman selling 30,282 buckaroonies for the year. Sienna Lopez, 21,429. Randy Ingaglia, 12,942. Josue Garduno, 11,355. And then Justin Casnon, 9,114. Now, closing out today's talk today, we're going to be getting out a little bit earlier for this evening's team meeting. I'm going to be talking about motivation and consistency. So the main points I'm going to be going over today. Number 1, consistent effort, conviction. Number 2, consistent communication. Number 3, how do you achieve success with a little success quote added in. And then number 4, how to make more on your paycheck. So starting off with consistent effort. Every week, you need to set a weekly goal. You need to follow through with your goals, right? And so I like to say, within the PCs that we do, that's the opportunity for us to be able to kind of create a structured game plan for the following week, right? And so basically, whatever we set during that session, you really want to lock in and try to fulfill that goal, right? Ultimately, doing whatever it takes to set the standards and goals you set out for yourself. The people who put in the most effort are often the people who succeed the most within the company, right? And so ultimately, I will just say, just being transparent, if we have a meeting, right, and we sit down, we spend 30 minutes, we go over a game plan, we give you structure for what you want to do, and then you go out and you don't do anything, right? That was a complete waste of both your time and my time, right? Us sitting down for 30 minutes was a complete waste. So make the best of the time that we do spend, right? And spend the time necessary to be able to fulfill your goals. Now, consistent effort is just the foundation of building success within our company, right? Now, this is a little snapshot that I had gotten from a conference that I went to. It's a day in the life as an entrepreneur, right? And so the job that we do, right, there's ups and downs, ebbs and flows, right? That's how I like to talk about it. And so ultimately, there's going to be the highs, there's going to be the lows, right? And so the things to think about with what we have here, you have control of when you work, you have control of your earning potential, you're able to grow as much or as little as you want. You have people around you who are willing to help and you to grow and succeed in hitting your goals. Now, and like just the ups and downs, like just to give you an example, right? Sienna just mentioned to me, right? She felt like she got humbled tonight in tonight's phone jam, right? Because of the fact that she didn't get as many answers as she was used to, right? And then she also got a weird phone call from somebody that was in the central region, right? Where they're like, oh, it's 10 o'clock at night, right? She had a low, right? But handling it with good, composure is really key, right? And ultimately, there's going to be the lows, there's going to be the highs. Now, going through here for an hourly, wage job, a typical hourly wage job, you have no control of when you work, you have no control of your earning potential, and you're actively limiting your growth, right? So I like to ask the question about with a heart rate, what does this picture resemble? If you saw a heart rate monitor at a hospital for somebody and it was just a straight line, what does that mean?
You're dead.
You're dead, right? You're dead. So, ultimately, I think it's kind of a good example, with a heart rate monitor, you see, when there's beats, right? Ups and downs, you're living, you're fine, right? Your heart's beating. But, if you're just going the same exact line and just not doing anything to improve yourself, you're not doing yourself any favors, right? And so ultimately, the opportunity you guys have here creates the opportunity for growth, right? Now, with consistent communication, the people who communicate with their manager more often produce great results. The numbers show the representatives that communicate to me the most. They have higher average orders, more sales, more promotions, more income. Communication is essential to success within this company. Just talking about my 10K fast start. Ultimately, the way I achieved my 10K fast start was because I was calling my manager Austin all the time, right? I was using him as a resource and I was calling him consistently every single day during my demos. I would call him, before my demo, during my demo, after my demo. I called him more than I needed to, but ultimately I knew that, if I reached out and I got that help, I knew that he would be able to help me succeed, right? And so ultimately, I want you guys to look at me the exact same way, right? Ultimately, I'm here to be able to help you succeed and help you hit your goals, right? And so ultimately, communicating with me more often, it's going to help you with your experience here. Now, consistent communication will help you produce larger results. Use me as your resource, right? Now, how do you achieve success? Have a quick little Tom Brady video to showcase to you guys. You guys know I just have to throw in a Tom Brady video to my team meeting. So here we go. Okay, watch YouTube on video, a video on YouTube. Let's get it.
Man, if I want to be good, I gotta wake up in the morning, I gotta do the extra work, and I gotta show up when other guys aren't, and I've gotta learn, I've gotta continue to be open to learning, but I had to take it to a new level that the other guys wouldn't. So I'm gonna go out there and compete as hard as I can, and I'm gonna treat practice like a game, and I'm gonna gain the respect of my teammates every day through my work ethic. I'm gonna work hard in the weight room, I'm gonna work hard in the film room, I'm gonna work hard to be a good student. Whatever they ask me to do, that's what I'm gonna do, to the best of my ability.
There you go. That just gives me freaking goosebumps watching that, right?
It
And
wouldn't
so
be a
ultimately,
Ryan talk without Tom Brady.
there you go, right? And so ultimately, right, I just think that, his attitude, right, that's why he's the GOAT, right? Because he went into everything wanting to be the best at it, right? He worked hard. And so ultimately, I mean, having that same attitude and just working hard and trying to be better, right? That's a great way of going about it. So when it comes to how to make more on your paychecks, setting time aside for phone jams to hit your weekly goals. I think that this is probably the most common reason for why people don't hit their goals. It's just simply because of the fact that they're not prioritizing what's important, right? How do you set appointments? By making phone calls, right? It's very simple, right? It's a simple formula. So ultimately, if people aren't scheduling demos, typically that just means they're not getting on the phone much, right? And so ultimately, setting the time aside within your schedule, plotting it out, literally typing it out in your schedule, or writing it in your calendar, right? Of the time that you're going to be making phone calls. And also know and understand your schedule inside and outside of Cutco, right? That kind of goes into that too with setting the time aside. Communicating with me consistently in game and post game coaching. And then simply prioritize Cutco, right? That doesn't mean you lose momentum in other areas of your life, but simply holding a consistent effort week to week, right? I'll tell you, if you prioritize Cutco and you don't, I mean, it doesn't have to be the most utmost number one priority, right? But if you prioritize it and you take it as one of your, blocks in your life, it's going to serve you very well, right? I think a great quote that I heard from SC2 from Jeremy Blau, he said to everybody, he's like, if you treat this job like a hobby, it's going to pay like a hobby. If you treat this job like a career, it's going to pay like a career, right? So treat the opportunity like a career, right? And if you do that, you're going to get paid a lot better than if you just treat it like it's a hobby, right? And so, great thing from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, right? You guys have great power with what you guys have in front of you, this opportunity. You have great power in that you have control over your schedule. You control when you work. You control how much you make, right? But if you're not doing what you need to do and you're not prioritizing it, it just doesn't matter, right? Ultimately, you're just going to be missing out on the power and not making the best of the responsibility you're given, right? So let's look at some examples of the possibilities. I always like to reference Abigail Legaspi's, first weekend. The fact that she sold $10,000 her first weekend, it's very impressive. That's a possibility. Anything's possible. This is Kainoa Kuema, one of his weeks that he had. He ended up selling and made $1,000. I love those comma paychecks, right? Now, Michael Willman, this is even more crazier, guys. He sold 11,000 CPO on one order, right? This guy sold that much in one order. I almost passed out, okay? And what ended up happening, he made $3,945 off that one order, right? And that was just because it's a business gifting and stuff like that. But that was an extra layer he added. Now, like to also give recognition to Sienna Lopez, right? This is not, I would love to have a screenshot of this upcoming paycheck because that's going to be even juicier, right? But right here, she made $14.93, right? And this is her second week on the job, right? And she was able to make just under 15 bucks. Okay. Now, your paycheck is a reflection of your effort and your consistent habits. Okay. So, moving on in here, reviewing through what I went through. Number one, consistent effort, conviction. Number two, consistent communication. Number three, how do you achieve success? Gave you guys an awesome Tom Brady success quote. And then number four, how to make more on your paycheck. Okay. And so, that is wrapping up with the team meeting. I appreciate you all taking the time for tonight's team meeting. Be on the lookout a little bit later on this evening. I will send out a little Calendly invite probably within the next 5 minutes. And if you guys can just schedule out your PCs with me for the week, that'd be awesome. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your night. I really appreciate you all for making the time for this evening's team meeting.
Good night.
Bye, Ryan. Night.
Good night.